about this damn game. It's about desire now. Desire. How did I do that? I don't even know how I did that. You know why I know we're gonna win today? Because of our brotherhood. Because of how tight we are. You can't break that.
What is up, everyone? The Film Room is back for the 2015 season, and for the kickoff episode, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Jadeveon Clowney's first game back just 9 months after having the dreaded microfracture surgery on his knee. I'll say this before going any further, and this is just my first impression from the only tape we've seen from him in pretty much a year. Physically, this guy is still a different species. I was worried that Clowney would lose a noticeable amount of speed, strength, overall explosiveness after his rehab, but when comparing this game to tapes from South Carolina when he was last fully healthy, I can honestly say that the dude is still freaky. His first step was insane. His power was almost overwhelming at times. Will there be some medical hiccups here and there because of the nature of microfracture and everything that entails during rehab? Maybe, but right now, as it stands, I have zero concerns about Clowney being the athletic freak that he was billed as before he was drafted and subsequently injured. Now, as for actual football skills and how he translated all of that athleticism to production, I would say that he's certainly rusty. To be honest though, when microfracture is involved, if I have less concerns about health than I do about technique, I'll take that as a win all day long. Now anyway, let's go over the good from this game. For starters, run defense. Clowney crushed the edge all day long. I consider Travis Kelce to be a very good blocker for a tight end, and Clowney just effortlessly stacked him in the backfield. He put on 15 pounds of muscle over the summer while rehabbing, by the way, which means he's carrying almost 280 pounds with 34.5-inch arms on that frame. If you're a tight end and you're trying to block that kind of physical monstrosity one-on-one on the edge, you're kind of just screwed. No matter what you do, you're screwed. He is so long and so strong, you really don't have a chance. Clowney was extremely stout at the point of attack on the play side, and like I showed earlier, when the Chiefs decided to run away from him, he was so fast that he could just chase it down and get a tackle for loss in pursuit anyway. That kind of dominance, whether the play was going at him or not, really had a huge impact on how teams could afford to handle J.J. Watt. For instance, Kansas City's running a zone stretch away from Watt, as most teams tend to do, out of a 2 tight end set. Now, normally, getting Jamal Charles to the edge as far away from Watt as possible is a pretty solid game plan, but Clowney blows up Demetrius Harris at the point of attack, stacks him with one arm, and forces a cutback way before the run can actually develop. Normally, the goal for an offense is to widen that force player as much as possible in a zone stretch and have each running lane flow and develop laterally at the same time as the running back reads his blockers outside to inside. But Clowney doesn't allow himself to be widened at all. Every other blocker on the line of scrimmage is moving laterally and trying to seal off lanes with reach blocks, but Harris just flat out cannot move Clowney at all. He is wrecking the angles on this play, so Charles has no choice but to cut into, guess who, J.J. Watt coming backside in pursuit. Clowney sets the pins up, Watt knocks him down. Later in the game, Clowney comes free on a stunt up the middle and disrupts Smith. He just barely misses the sack, but when he flushes Smith from the pocket, Watt's waiting right there to finish him off. You might get away from one of these guys, but you sure as shit aren't getting away from both of them. Fourth quarter, the Chiefs are now actively sliding their protection toward Clowney and away from Watt, something I never thought I would actually ever see. Kelce stays in to protect, Charles slides over to potentially pick up a blitzing linebacker or releases a receiver, and the left tackle Stevenson started his kick set looking to engage Clowney inside of Kelce as well. The fact that they had to keep Kelce and Charles in on protection to account for Clowney means that their 2 best offensive weapons were no longer a threat. The consequence of that, of course, was Watt then getting a one-on-one matchup with Ja Reed on the other side, who he promptly destroys, and drawing a holding penalty that set back the KC offense by 10 yards. You can't double team everyone. When Houston took Clowney first overall, this exact scenario was what they envisioned. Put someone else on the line of scrimmage that scares the living shit out of offensive coordinators and forces teams to give J.J. Watt one-on-one matchups. There's a reason why J.J. had 6 tackles for loss in this game, his highest number since 2012, by the way, and it's because the Chiefs had no choice but to pay attention to people besides Watt for once. Now, for all of Clowney's immense physical potential, there are still some things he needs to work on with Coach Vrabel so that he can reach that full potential, starting with how he uses his hips as a pass rusher. Take this snap here, for instance. Clowney and Watt are rushing off opposite edges. You can see Clowney jump the snap cadence a little bit early, and he doesn't get to fully reset before the ball is snapped. However, he's so damn explosive that even with that first step kind of messed up by that early jump, he's still making up enough ground to match J.J. Watt's depth on the other side. Stevenson was not ready for this kind of speed, and Clowney gets that edge with, to be honest, not his best jump. However, even though he got that edge, he failed to do what's called flattening to the quarterback. When you're a pass rusher and you get to that pivot point on the edge in a speed rush, you absolutely must crank those hips around and point them at the quarterback. Your body goes where your hips are pointed, so if your hips are pointed to the back of the pocket, like Clowney's are here, that's where you're going to end up. Meanwhile, look at JJ's hips. He's cranking that frame around and flattening his rush around the corner to try to catch Smith before he can step up. They both miss, yes, but Watt came a hell of a lot closer because he dipped and worked those hips as he got the edge. Clowney didn't. He'll get better at it, but this is an issue he's had going back to college that needs to be corrected sooner rather than later. However, if he learns to get those hips around, though, and capitalize on that speed, I don't think there's an offensive tackle in the world that could block a technically proficient Jadeveon Clowney for 4 straight quarters. I don't think that kind of player exists. Now, the reason why I think he will eventually learn the little things is that he clearly put in some work in the film room and was receptive to coaching during Houston's preparation for the KC offense. This third down snap in the third quarter really caught my eye as an example of that. KC comes out and trips left. Clowney's lined up all the way at the 9 technique with his hand in the dirt, but look at where he's facing. He's not angled like he's going to rush the passer. He's cocking himself towards Jeremy Maclin in the slot. So why is he doing this? Because he knows what play is coming. Fake end around crack pitch to Jamal Charles to give him space on the boundary on 3rd and 1. The Chiefs want to move Houston's inside linebackers just a few steps out of position with the threat of the end around with what are called false steps. Meanwhile, Clowney would theoretically get cracked on the edge by Maclin, who again he hypothetically would not see coming, which would then give Charles an easy edge to get the first down and a whole hell of a lot more. But Clowney's already read it like a book. He sets himself up to take on Maclin's crack block head on, and again, Clowney's pushing 280 with nearly 35-inch arms. Jeremy Maclin will never, ever successfully block him if Clowney sees him coming. He takes on the crack block, rides it to the edge, sheds Maclin easily, and uses that ridiculous speed to take down Charles on the edge before he can get the first down. And mind you, Charles is one of the fastest running backs in the league, and Clowney beat him to the spot and got him before that first down marker. So again, not only did Clowney put in enough work in the film room to recognize this before it even happened, but then he used his absurd athleticism to single-handedly shut down a play that will work 9 times out of 10 against this defensive look. That's what a first overall pick gets you, folks. That kind of play. Even within the game, you could see Clowney improve his discipline from one quarter to the next against some of the more, I want to say, gimmicky aspects of Kansas City's offense. Alex Smith is athletic enough to run some read options, so the Chiefs toy with that every now and then because, well, why not? On their first snap running the option in this game, Clowney was naturally the read man coming off the edge. He didn't recognize it at first and took the bait. Alex Smith pulled it, got a 5-yard gain. Luckily, the rest of the defense rallied and held him to just that and didn't do too much damage. Later in the game, Casey tries to get Clowney to bite once again. He stays disciplined in his assignment, forces the handoff from Smith, and then immediately flattens down and helps in the tackle on Charles from behind. First of all, schematically, this isn't supposed to happen. The read man is not supposed to be able to be in 2 places at once, covering the threat of the quarterback run while also being fast enough to flatten and catch the running back from behind if the quarterback hands it off. That shouldn't be possible. But there are some people in the NFL that are so freaky that they can do it. Two of them are actually playing in this game, J.J. Watt and Justin Houston. I've seen both of them do this kind of stuff before, and Clowney can add his name to that list. Fourth quarter now, and Kansas City has learned not to test Clowney by leaving him unblocked against option runs. They send fullback Anthony Sherman on the backside kickout to make absolutely sure that Clowney can't just flatten down and ruin everything anyway. Smith pulls the ball, tries to get the edge as Sherman knocks Clowney off balance, but Clowney's able to stumble his way just far enough to the edge to force Smith to cut back into the teeth of the defense and only be limited for a 2-yard gain. Clowney may not have made that play himself, but he soaked up just enough attention and was able to fight off the block just enough to succeed in his role. I consider that a job well done. Now, were there some little things that Clowney could still do to improve a lot as the year goes on? Absolutely. For one, he needs to learn on timing his punch better and stop allowing the tackle to land the first blow into his chest and stall his power. He's strong as hell and can bull rush through pretty much anybody as long as he's the one engaging the blocker's chest first with good leverage and not the other way around. As mentioned earlier, he also needs to get more flexible and work those hips towards the quarterback while coming off the edge. It's a bunch of minor stuff that you would expect the young player to still be working on anyway though, so it really doesn't concern me much right now that he's still learning. We know that Clowney works hard, he obviously studies hard, he's receptive to coaching, but above all, he's finally healthy enough to actually practice and drill all of these nuances into his muscle memory. Bottom line, he's healthy and he still has the ridiculous explosiveness that everybody hoped he still had in him after the injury. This is a special athlete, and more than anything, I just wanted to confirm for myself while watching the tape that he was the same physical force that he once was. And, well, he still is. The scariest part, though, is that by the end of the year, he might be even stronger and faster than he is right now. He only played 30 snaps and still found a way to impact the game despite Brian Hoyer doing his absolute best to throw it all the way. Clowney and Watt. Watt and Clowney. This is unfair bullshit of the highest order, and as a Texans fan, I love every second of it. Alright, that's all I got for now today, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Film Room episodes as the season rolls on. I'm not sure who or what I'll be breaking down next week yet, but I have a feeling it might be a follow-up to Jameis Winston and checking in on his first couple weeks in the pros. Until then, later.